Hello,
Hello, Mila.
Jamie.
Hi, Mila. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. It's so good. What's the weather like in Prague, Czech Republic today?
Oh, unfortunately, it's very cold, and it's been raining all day, so not as nice in Florida, right?
It's gorgeous in Fort Lauderdale. It's a beautiful day today, and I'm always grateful to be able to talk about our organization, but more importantly, to add clarity to what's a healthy relationship because we're dedicated to helping people through toxic relationships, but I think it's always good for us to understand if it is toxic or maybe it's not, and get questions answered, in a way that other people can understand where on the treatment continuum do we belong? Do we belong just with a therapist? Do we belong in a support group? Do we belong in Taranon? So it's always good for us to have these conversations. I can see there's about 30 people joining right now, so I'm going to give it a
Exactly.
couple more minutes
Of
and
course, of course.
then I'll talk about it there. But I want to welcome everybody. If you're checking in here, you're checking in to, it says TAR, but we are the STAR network now, Survivors of Toxic Abusive Relationship. And we really are welcoming everybody coming in. We're going to start this presentation in about 3 or 4 minutes. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I am here with my co-founder, Mila, and me, I'm Dr. Jamie, and let's just get everybody inside and realize it's a safe place and chill out. And we'll start this in 3 or 4 minutes. What do you think, Milo?
Of course, of course. And I just want to add that this is a very unique webinar where everybody can ask Dr. Jamie straight answers and get straight questions and get straight answers about toxic abusive relationships. So
Or
I'm
healthy
here,
relationships.
or healthy relationships, exactly. So if you have any questions during this webinar, please do write in a chat or write in the Q&A, and I'll bring these questions up to Dr. Jamie so he's going to be able to answer you directly.
And Mila, also, because we do Taranon every day almost now, and we have hundreds of people coming, you have to tell me, Mila, is there emoticons or emojis here? Because if there's not, I can't find them on mine.
I can find them on mine, Jamie. Here,
Maybe
look, I'm
can the
sending you
audience?
hearts.
How about the
Uh,
audience then? That's cool.
I hope so. Well, if somebody can, because this is our second
Yeah, if
time that
anybody
we've
out
been
there
just
sends a heart, feel free to send a heart or a thumb. Milo, the first time I found out that I needed to have math and science was when I had to do my thesis. And I said, nobody told me how to do math, tech, or science. Hello,
good.
everybody. Oh, that's so cool. Look at the group can do this. Feel
Yes.
free. Listen, everybody may before I start, I am a chief compassion officer at a very large healthcare company, which is my day job. And no offense to my day job, there's nothing more I love than working with our foundation. But I know virtually, because I have to deal with 35,000 employees, that your emojis are the one way you can connect to us in any emotional way, except through Mila, my co-founder, where you can also use the chat box. Oh, there's the hearts are coming. It's so cool to see people are alive and well. Oh, there's an Alan's actually raising a hand. What does that mean? You have to tell me, Mila. Can we actually?
Well, unfortunately, we can't because we're on the webinar. So all the
But Alan can
questions you
then
have.
send a question, can't he?
Yes, yes, he can. He can.
Good.
So
All
you can
right.
send the question directly either to me or you can send through the Q&A.
Yeah.
That's possible.
It's 12:04. So let me be mindful of your time. And I want to say, hey, Alan, thanks a lot. I'm glad you raised your hand. Unfortunately, technologically, it looks like you need to use the chat box. Paul has got a raised hand too. Look at this. So maybe you have to, Paul, use the chat box too. Anyway, I'm Dr. Jamie Heisman, licensed clinical social worker. I'm a trauma therapist. I'm actually an addictions counselor for years back. I've run treatment centers for years. I too, I'll just right off the bat, am a survivor of toxic abusive relationships. I am very blessed and privileged to be the executive director and founder of this concept called the STAR Network, where we have three pillars. One is we want to credential the proper treatment for complex trauma. The second is Taranon, where we offer support to people in toxic abusive relationships that's free and accessible. And we do that all throughout the week, and it's huge and it's growing. And the other one is to do prevention programs to educate people and parents how not to create an attachment disorder. So our foundation has the Instagram that many of you, I think, are coming here with. It was only started 7 months ago. And the tragedy is that everybody has 125,000 people there now. That means it's a pretty toxic world out there. But we're here in a very safe 60 minutes to be with you, who is a part of our community at the Star Network, to ask any questions you would like. What we wanted to do was put me out there before we sent anybody to Tar-Anon, which I go to, and I'm a Tar mentor, and I am in recovery because I, gosh knows, met a toxic individual that changed my entire life. But what we wanted to do was do a webinar just to have you ask questions, just to see if you are, where the best place to be. So let's start right now. That's my co-founder. That's Mila. We've, over the last 3.5 years, developed this foundation with an amazing team that's international. She's in Prague right now. I'm in Fort Lauderdale. She just did a radio show in Ireland this morning. We've got, presentations and everything going all around the world because toxicity is there. So congratulations, you all who is here. You have passed the test. Hey, you have. You're curious. You came here and you are kind of the choir. You ever hear that statement, I'm preaching to the choir? I'm actually talking to a self-aware group because curiosity is a skill that's needed to connect in a loving relationship. So guess what the loving relationship you're connecting with is today? It's you. You're coming here for your mind, body, and spirit. Hopefully you're coming here to ask questions. I'll hopefully be able to answer. Maybe you're coming as I'm a clinical sort of person, so I can triage you, but you are exactly the vanguard. You're the self-aware. So welcome. If you're here and you came from our Instagram or some other social media, you can always reset and reboot your life. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Please don't stay caught in the back with the anxieties of yesterday or the fears of tomorrow, because you're missing the present that was given to you. Today, this moment is the first day of the rest of your life. You can ask questions, you can get triage, you can figure out where you want to go. So I am a person, I'm a human being more than a human doing. So I want to say welcome. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You are here and you are the curious. And in my day job, I tell people, what's recovery? It's self-awareness. It's being able to look inside of ourselves, take accountability, maybe have empathy and compassion for ourselves and forgiveness. Also, it's to look at ourselves in a way that everything is a learned lesson. Okay, because we come from a childhood that might have been very challenging, and childhood roles don't fit in adulthood. So self-awareness is the goal. Self-awareness involves deep personal honesty. It comes from asking and answering hard questions with yourself. So Mila's here. So again, you can always put the questions in the chat box.
Jamie, we already have a first question, so maybe you can answer if you would like to. So
go for it,
there's
Mila.
an interesting question, which it was always in my mind as well, because there's so many Tinder swindlers around, aren't they, right, Jamie? There was a big Netflix documentary on that, and there comes a question: what are your thoughts on meeting and talking to people on dating sites as opposed to meeting people in person?
Okay, that's a great one. I'm going to answer that in a second. How's that? I think it's a
Okay.
fabulous question. And guess what, Mila? You're my co-founder, so you hold my feet to the fire that if I don't get to this, but I am going to get to it. It's a great question. In fact, just for that person who had the courageous nature to write that first question down, I'm going to give you an amazing book to read that will be your guide in dating sites. Okay? I'm going to give it to you soon. So it's not, listen, Bumble, Tinder, all that, whatever I say, it's like going to Las Vegas. It's hitting red or black. And to your question, yes, we are all images until we're not. Okay, we are. So sometimes on the dating site, you're more of an image. Okay, actually, there's people that professionally write these things if you really want to know image. But I'm going to get to it in a second, and then Mila will hold my feet to the fire. But I want to show you here. So give me a thumbs up if you tuned in today. I love that question. And to engage yourself and become self-aware, not necessarily that you're shooting heroin up. You need to have a relationship fix you today. All right, because the mess relationship you have has to be with yourself. The only way, when I got diagnosed as an 18-year-old with depression, my mom gave me a book, and I said, Mom, what the hell did you give me a book? I'm depressed as hell. And she said, Jamie, to know oneself is to know the world. So if you tuned in to engage, I love those emoticons. Keep them coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being self-aware. So I'm going to start off though. How do you know if you're in a healthy relationship? Because I know we're in toxic abusive relationship as our foundation, but that doesn't mean there's not healthy relationships out there, right? In fact, if you really want to know from a psychological standpoint, the American Psychological Association said that 1 of 8 people have severe toxicity and have an attachment disorder. Now, that's very underreported because if there's men on this call, men usually do not report. But of that 1 out of 8, I don't want to scare everybody, but I'm about to do that for you guys hitting dating sites. Of that 1 out of 8, they hit 200 people just in America alone in collateral damage. So if you go to starnetwork.org, you'll see we deal with men, women, teens, tweens, work sites. Okay, why? Because the attachment disorders are everywhere, but only 1 out of 8's there. That means 7 out of 8 probably don't have that. They may have a measure of empathy, measure of accountability. They can meet you halfway. So how do you know if you're in a healthy relationship? So as you're here, you said you're self-aware and you're engaged. I'd like you to feel comfortable enough, if you can, to bring a particular energy to this group and your questions. Okay, I want you to ask yourself, if you're showing up, what's the truest reflection of the person asking the question? Okay, because there's 3, the Japanese say it best, there's 3 masks. The first face you show the world, the second face you show your close friends and family. This is good for your dating site question too. The third face is the one you never show anybody. It's the truest reflection of who you are. It's also the concept of intimacy. Okay, intimacy with ourselves and intimacy with somebody else. So before I get on, you're going to hear a couple of things, and I'm going to get to a healthy relationship. We choose people based upon our childhood sort of issues. So just so you know, Freud, Jung, all the great Skinners, and the child's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. The fawn response, a non-biological, which is complex trauma. I love everybody to go grab Pete Walker's book if you could. Pete coined the word fawning in the book, How to Thrive, Not Just Survive with CPTSD. You can put that in the chat too, Mila, if you want. But Pete did a great book. So why? Your picker. When people come in, I don't like to diagnose all the information to come. If I have to get reimbursed, I'll do a DSM-5 diagnosis, but I don't like to. I teach psychopathology, but every time I don't like to put file cabinets around it. But the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response, okay, that's with all of us. All of us. I don't care if you have toxicity or not, or you have 5 indicators or not, or borderline narcissist, histrionic or not. All of us have some measure of complex post-traumatic stress. Our parents can never do everything right, right? I'm a parent.
Exactly.
I can do it right. Innocence happens, and innocent abuses do happen, like timeouts, like not being consistent, like taking the cell phone one day from a kid and not taking it from the other day. You know, they get what we call trauma bonded. Our first trauma bond is our childhood, believe it or not. So I want you to hear that. Now I want to get to the healthy relationship. Why did I tell you that first? Is because instead of diagnosing people, I always say your picker's broken. Well, that's why I say that. Your picker comes from childhood, unresolved issues in childhood. I always say too that the first 8 years of our life, whether you come out with a fight, flight, freeze, I came out with the fawn response, codependent, because I had a lot of chaos in my family. But that's how we enter the world, and our childhood roles don't help us in adulthood. That's why you're going to get to it in a moment. We have to reparent ourselves for a healthy relationship. I'll talk to you about it in a minute. But let's say this, okay? Loving yourself, staying honest with yourself, redefining intimacy. It's such a hard thing. Staying independent, maintaining equality. All these are healthy relationship characteristics, okay? Let's take the first one. You cannot pass go. You cannot collect $200. If you're playing Monopoly, if you want a healthy relationship or you want to find a healthy relationship, you have to have one with yourself first. You have to learn to love yourself first instead of loving the idea of other people loving you. Listen to that carefully. I got a buddy of mine. Every day he goes off on another Bumble date. I say, hey, Bob, what the heck are you going on another Bumble date for? You know what's going to happen. You'll stay out. You'll do it 5 times. Maybe you guys will go to bed or something. Then afterwards, something won't work out and you're done. And you go to the next one. I said, why don't you just take the time to learn to love yourself and find out. Put a ring on your finger first because your picker's broken, I said. So realize that you can't pass go, collect $200 if you want a healthy relationship until you have one with yourself. The first toxic relationship is really in our family. The second one is with ourselves because we never saw a healthy relationship. So the second part of a healthy relationship, okay, you stick with me. I'm not going pathological on you. I'm just doing healthy stuff now. And we're going to get to the image question, dating sites, believe me. In a relationship, honesty and trust, the acronym for trust, to reach ultimate success together has to exist. If they don't, there's no point of loving. So if you can't afford to be honest, A, with yourself, and then with your mate, stay single. There is no way. Secrets make us sick. So if you don't have pure old honesty with yourself, pure honesty, then dating sites, we don't really that much. I'm going to answer this question throughout these slides. You have a lot of impressing of that person. You know, you may want to be in a relationship. You may think that somebody's going to complete you. But if you can see me, look at my fingers, that's this type of relationship. You see where one finger's on the other? That's a codependency. If this person moves, this person falls. See? This one moves, this one falls. This is a healthy relationship. I know you don't see that, but the spirit and energy that goes between two independent people is a healthy thing. You just don't see the energy. So the most important first person is to be honest with yourself. If you're going that Bumble or Tinder date because you don't feel complete, I would say hold off on that Bumble or Tinder date until you start feeling complete. So the third thing, intimacy. Okay, toxic relationships, I can flat out tell you, intimacy is the bomb. When two people get together and one has a real toxicity to themselves, meaning they have 5 indicators, borderline or narcissism, as soon as you get close with them, there's a blow up, a rage, okay? Because they really have never had the conversation with their perpetrator at a young age. So they're going to fight you. But intimacy, true, authentic intimacy in relationship goes so much deeper than just screwing somebody, or goes so much deeper than just the physical, okay? An intimate relationship is one that allows you to be yourself. So think about this. You came there for a reason. Audit the people you may be with. Think about in your mind. That goes with family too, y'all. I'm not just saying this to your partners or your mate, okay? Whether it's male, female, you're LGBTQ plus, whatever world culture you come from. Think about auditing, okay, everybody. An intimate relationship is one that allows you to be yourself. Some families don't. Some of them are so oppressively toxic, they control their loved ones like no tomorrow. Okay, we're still on the healthy side here, y'all. You relating? Hey, throw me a rainbow thumb up or some heart if you're still with me. We're only on the healthy side. We haven't gotten to the dark side yet. So wait, oh, there it is. Okay.
There it is, yeah.
So I got you here. But remember, this is a parallel process, okay? If you go find that person, I'm not telling you not to date. You don't have to be a monk and sit on some Nepalese mountain there and be celibate. I'm not asking you to do that. But what I'm asking you to do is anything I say that's a qualification for a partner in a healthy relationship has to be done by you probably first. So the next thing for a healthy relationship is total equality. Okay? Men, women, same. Okay? Straight, gay, same. Culture, same. Equality in relationships is not about men and women having the exact same characteristics. No. Otherwise, you just look in the mirror and you can have a relationship in the morning and stay there for the next 8 hours. It is about each individual having the same worth. So if you're in a relationship and your partner doesn't see you or feel you or experience you as equal, okay, you got a problem. We're gonna get to that later. But and you'll see that in those dating sites too, okay? You're gonna get that little misogyny if it's a guy or the girl or whoever it is, but you're gonna feel if people are meeting you halfway. You know, at my company I work at, they always say, hey, doc, what's burnout? And I say burnout is when one person works harder than the other. So when I do marriage counseling, I look and I see who's meeting who halfway and who's not. So equality is part of a healthy relationship. A great relationship is about 2 things. First, appreciating the similarities. And second, respecting the differences. Think about it. If you have a hard time, that's also boundaries. And then I'm sure Mila will put it in the chat room. But again, this might not be pathological. Go to YouTube and look up Brene Brown's work. Brene Brown. She's very good on boundaries, and she's also very vulnerable. Like, I'll talk about my recovery to you. She'll do it as well. But go there, because what we're talking about is boundaries here, right? Respecting each other's differences. All right, and finally here, to live in relationship, a healthy one, and yet remain independent, that's what courage is about. So when I just did this to you, this is codependency. This is when we gain our self-esteem by people, places, and things. This is where I came out of my childhood. I was the hero child, the codependent. Later on, because I'm old enough to realize the trauma model wasn't even going on then. Later on, I found out it was a trauma response. I was in the fawn response. So what happens is we disassociate. Codependency is a disassociation. You leave the moment, you start people pleasing, you start kissing, rear ends, and you start saying shape shifting, and you become a chameleon. That's a disassociation. Alcohol, a disassociation. Drugs, disassociation. Eating, disassociation. If you're not be here now, okay, it's usually a response, a dissociative to trauma. So the goal of a healthy relationship is interdependency. It's this. There's a balance, give and take. Remember, I want you to start auditing the people you're with now, the families, your partners. If you're here for an hour with me and Mila, take this home with you. This is all for us to provide. We're trying to bring health and healing in this world through our foundation. So realize also that interdependency is a balance, give and take. It's also when people support each other's growth and independence. If you're in a toxic relationship, I'll get to it in a moment, by the way, your loved one ain't going to be happy about your promotion. There's going to be a jealousy. There's going to be a competition. Interdependency is when both people are free to be their own separate, independent person, and then they come back together and they all bask in that beautiful energy. So show me a thumbs up. Thumbs up if you need to go further and learn what an unhealthy relationship is. Okay. Listen, y'all, don't worry about it. I'm not going to tell you to become monks and nuns here, okay? I am going to ask you to have a parallel path of healing your life, because if you're in a relationship with one of these, I can flat out tell you from personal side, and I've been in recovery for 7.5 years in complex trauma. That's with our Tar-Anon. I'll talk about that later. I have to have a parallel part of how do I embrace mind, body, and spirit? How can I reparent myself? So realize that. Okay, you all ready? Look at that. You guys taking a risk to go to the dark side here. Let's go. All right, let me first say if you're in the right workshop here, okay? A healthy relationship doesn't drag you down. It inspires you to be better. It's like leadership. Leadership should not be top down. Leadership should be helping the team around you to show their potential, bring them in and be equal. So a healthy relationship doesn't drag you down. If you've got a relationship like the one on the right, keep listening. We're going to help you. If you're in a relationship where you're walking on eggshells, you don't feel safe, the communication sucks, you feel neglected, or somebody's like abusing you, maybe you feel, Mila and I are filming music people, but a little bit like Lincoln Park's Numb, where he says, I want to be more like me and less like you. Have you like got lost in yourself with the other person? If that person's judging you, not curious, belittles you, you don't feel empathy, maybe he's trying to control what you're doing some way, guess what? You're in the right spot to listen to the second part of this presentation, okay? If really you're always apologizing to your loved one, if you're feeling not enough, like you're not enough, you have to hide your feelings. Now, some of this is also dating too. Remember that question you answered me, okay? People are hiding that image until they can feel safe with you, neurosafe. But okay, if you need a lot of reassurance from the person, that's it. So what is a toxic person? Okay, what is it? I don't need to get too pathological with you. It's somebody who ignores your needs. Somebody keeps telling you kind of that you're not right, you're wrong. Somebody tells you that that makes you feel bad about yourself. They get jealous, not just of your achievements, but they get jealous of any energy that's going on somewhere else. That's why they're called energy vampires. If you're with somebody who's toxic, they're never going to apologize, have a learned lesson. Hey, listen, I totally screwed up here. Maybe there's a way to learn. You'll never hear that. Okay. There are people that even if you set your boundaries with Brene Brown helping you, they're going to keep going through them, keep going over them. Okay. That's the point of boundaries. Okay. They're people that kind of manipulate you for their own need, transaction. And you know what? They usually oscillate to two roles, victim and martyr, victim and martyr. They're not really there to be the self-aware person. So many of you may wonder, I said you will all have complex PTSD. We also all have attachment issues. So I go see my therapist every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. She's a somatic healer. She does Peter Levine's trauma therapy. So I have complex PTSD, right? She's working on my attachment style. I'm an avoidant attachment style, right? But I don't rise to 5 indicators on the attachment scale. Okay. That means there's 9 indicators to create histrionic, borderline, antisocial, or narcissistic personality disorder. If you satisfy 5 or greater, you probably have a diagnosis. And if you have a diagnosis, don't take it personal, y'all. You may be with one of these people, but they can't change. You can't take it personal. You didn't raise them. They're always going to make it sound like it's your fault. It can't be your fault. You didn't raise them. The attachment disorder happens between 4 and 8 years old. So you may be in there. So if you ask to come here now to the second part, and I'm going to open up for more questions, and Mila and I are just going to have a conversation with you soon. But a toxic person, when they can't control you anymore, they'll weaponize everything around you. That's called like flying monkeys. Or if you're married to one, that means they'll alienate the child and use the child to come to you. They'll weaponize to get back at you. Okay. When they can no longer control you, they try to figure out how others needs to see you. So they triangulate, they divide, and the misinformation will feel unfair. And I know me, I had to get rid of everybody that was called a flying monkey. But a lot of people don't understand, since you just walked into the dark side here, what a trauma bond really is. It's the Stockholm Syndrome. Here it happens this way, just easy enough. It's very easy. I don't want to get too clinical. Okay, operant conditioning. If you give a chicken food and you keep asking the chicken to do certain behavior and you keep giving it food, that's great, right? But sometime the chicken's going to get tired of the food. Okay, it gets bored of getting that burger every day. All right, let's try the other side of it. The other side of it is, what if you shocked that chicken and did negative reinforcement and changed its behavior by that? So instead of giving it food, you shocked it every day. Well, guess what? I deal with adolescents. Pretty soon that spanking or hitting they don't feel it. Now, what if you gave the chicken food one day and you shocked it the next day, and they had no idea what day they were going to get the food and what they were going to shock? That creates the trauma bond. That's the trauma. That's the Stockholm Syndrome. That's what happens when you're in a toxic, abusive relationship. Okay. That's called the intermittent reinforcement. I know I don't get too deep, but it only works, operant conditioning, in 2 settings, and that's prisons and the military, because they are controlled environments. So what we want you to know, and if you're in this now for the dark side part, is radical acceptance that this may be you, it may not be. But if you're going on that Bumble date, the red flags that I mentioned, no empathy, no accountability, and transactional, or the person doesn't treat you as an equal, or they're not bearing witness to your pain, or they're not listening and have you meet them halfway, guess what? You just learned a really cool lesson here at the Star Network Foundation. This will help you in all your dating. I'm going to show you something that will help you more. So anyway, removing toxic people from your life is our gig. We want you to be in this presentation. Why? Because I don't want you, neither does Mila, neither does our entire international team, to put up with abuse. I don't want you to be in a setting when life is not a dress rehearsal with such a short period of time for somebody to emotionally, physically, or any way abuse you. Okay, you got to start removing them out. Now, if you have one, you got a co-parent with one, we do things like gray rocking, you come to our TARNA meetings. But if you have one, you really do belong coming to our free support groups. When you go to TAR Network, you look at the meeting schedule, we'd love to see you. But it doesn't matter whether somebody's a relative, a romantic interest, an employer. We deal a lot with toxic work sites, a childhood friend, acquaintance. It doesn't matter. You don't have to make room for people who cause you pain. You don't. It's one thing if a person owns up to their behavior, okay, and I learned it, and I'm sorry, I'll meet you halfway, I get it. I get it. That's worth working for. Couples are messy. I do couples counseling, okay, but we need that empathy. But if a person disregards your feeling, ignores your boundaries, continues to treat you in that way, forget it. And you don't have to feel guilty. So to sum up, the healthy relationship, which I'm really hoping for you, aspiring for you to be in, praying on this, because as a foundation, we believe that the unhealthy attachment disorders is screwing the world up. We would love you to be in a relationship that's communicating properly, meeting halfway, that's respectful, that's trusting. The words trust, remember trust, to reach ultimate success together. That's trust. That's honest. That means you guys can just be as honest as you want, equal, enjoying each other's time. These are healthy ways to be in a relationship. An unhealthy way is a group, you have to give it time maybe on that Bumble or Tinder date about communication. You have to give it a little time on disrespect. Maybe the person's not neuro, safe, doesn't feel comfortable, hasn't done the breath work, which I'll do with you at the end. Okay. But an unhealthy relationship is dishonest, and not saying what's on their mind is a dishonest thing. One of the key things I tell my clients is it's great to be authentic, to say what's on your mind to somebody. And if it bothers them, they should call their therapist. Okay. But an unhealthy relationship is when you're pressured and it's unequal. An abusive relationship is communicating in a hurtful or threatening way, mistreating, accusing the other of cheating when you never cheated. It's just they're so jealous, they just need to have it. Controlling and projections. So the best revenge you all have, and I'm going to take questions now and just take a chill pill here, is to get well, is to go inside and deep, is to first love yourself. I'm not telling you not to be with somebody. I had to do that for a while, but I want you to understand the healing of your life, because your health, loving yourself will heal your life. Louise Hay, by the way, is a phenomenal affirmation person from the addiction world. But reparenting ourselves is critical. Why is this? I'm going to get to your questions here, but I'm taking us now back to 0 to 8. If we're in that fight, flight, freeze, if we see the world as unsafe, and God love our parents, they probably did the best they could, but they're just recreating the same trauma and drama. My parents read the book from Dr. Spock, who might as well be locked up for child abuse after I read that book. But we need to go back and reparent ourselves for things that we didn't get. The key to complex trauma recovery is development of resilience. Guess what? The key to a healthy couple is having resilient skills to be able to get through stuff. Okay. Reparenting yourself, like it says, no one will ever want to marry you if you act like that. Reparenting yourself, that's what you heard as a child. That's what your mom and dad would say. Reparent, it's okay to express yourself. You don't need to act like something you're not. Okay. Instead of buck up and that toxic positivity, don't be weak. No, you can cry. You can also get through. You can name your feelings. You can hold on to that. So reparenting yourself is a process, but understand this, and this is the beauty. I'm going to give you your book now, and then I'm going to be quiet and then take questions, is we all have attachment styles. You do too, even if you have a toxic person or a healthy person. They may be a secure, which very few are, by the way, because I've never seen parenting that's totally fair, consistent, available. But secure attachment style is somebody that really is attuned to you, can trust. Most people are anxious, avoidant, or fearful. Like I'm an avoidant, okay? I downplay things like that. Like I go into some sort of a crusty old boundary place. I sometimes want to emote. So my therapist has to work there. But you may have an anxious. This all comes from 0 to 8 years old, where we develop the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. These are trauma responses. Complex trauma, not PTSD. It's childhood PTSD. When we have a total blank slate, okay? Now, for that poor, and I'll say poor, toxic individual that can't change neurologically, that will never change no matter what you do, that you're not responsible for their parenting, okay? They had the worst parenting of all. They did. They never had a primary caregiver that connected with them unconditionally, that showed them the world was safe. So they learned to really kill or be killed by 5, 6, 7 years old. And they develop this. Here's that dating question again. They develop an image, and that image is well maintained. I see people in my clinics. They could be doctors, lawyers, they could be presidents and prime ministers. They develop an image, but inside they see the world in a kill or be killed way. Inside they have low self-esteem. They were never able to go through what we call object constancy. So That person, some people are sicker than others, is the 1 out of 8. We come out of childhood with our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. And so here's the book I'm going to suggest to you if you're really thinking about dating now, that you've heard me talk about attachment styles. It's a very good book. Okay. We get no money out of it. Hey, Mila, I need to talk to him about an affiliate agreement because this is a good book for dating. It's called Attached. It's the new science of adult attachment and how it can help you find and keep love. So I want you to read that book before you hit that Bumble date or that Tinder date, because what you're probably going to go up against is somebody who also is anxious or secure or some sort of, avoidant attachment style. I also want you to start looking at therapists who are trauma trained. So if you go to psychologytoday.com and put your zip code in, out will pop 10 or 20 therapists. Only go to the trauma trained one that does DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. I love when somebody sends the heart up. That's my therapist does that too. Or IFS, internal family systems, because all of us have childhood trauma. And the impact of trauma is huge. And the attachments that we connect to in relationships are dictated by how we've actually either reparented ourselves or gotten in. So if you get a good trauma therapist, you're going to learn healthy attachment. You're going to, first of all, have healthy attachment with yourself and have good positive feelings. You're going to have self-respect, as Neil always has me say. I always say it like Metallica says, you're going to know who you are and nothing else matters. So find
And
yourself
Jamie,
a good DBT. Okay, I'm going to actually open it up for questions right now. Find
please,
yourself a
Jamie,
good
so
DBT.
many questions. Everybody
Good.
wants
I'm
to
done.
ask Dr.
Transformation.
Jamie.
Let's all
So
transform. Now that you're all aware, no longer naive, send your questions to my dear co-founder and I'll answer.
I've received a lot of questions. So do you want to start with the first question regarding the dating website,
Yeah,
whether it's better to
I will.
what is your
So here's my
thought, Dr.
question.
Jamie,
Here, I'll be
on
quick with
dating
these.
sites as opposed to meeting people in
How
person?
many questions you got, Mila? Because I'm
A
gonna
lot, more
okay, let
than
me do rapid
25.
fire. Let me give rapid fire here. The dating question. No problem. Easy enough. Okay, it's an image, period, case closed. But yours is too, probably an image, case closed. When you meet, okay, you see these red flags, right? You see somebody's not listening to you, not bearing witness to your pain. You may see somebody who not listening, not meeting you halfway. You're seeing red flags now, right? So this is all natural. We're all images. Remember the 3 masks? The one we show the world, one we show our family, the one we show ourselves. People have to become neurologically safe. So if they're not 1 out of 8 toxic, if they have a level of empathy and accountability, and you're going to find this out in conversations, don't fall for it. By the way, do not fall for the vulnerable story of their shitty childhood. Do not. I mean, you can have compassion. I'm very sorry you went through that, but don't. That's a way of drawing you in. You were not responsible for their parenting. So be boundaried. Okay, come to Taranan will teach you that. So yes, on dating sites, you will have people who are images, but inside, when they become safe with you neurologically and you become safe with them, we peel the onion and we get closer to intimacy and authenticity. So these are the things that you be hyper vigilant about. You can always come to Taranon, or you got to get a good licensed trauma therapist and always have somebody once a week you can talk to who understands complex trauma and understands toxicity. So yes, the images are there, but if you want to date, have those red flags answered and get a good trauma therapist to bounce things off of. What's the next question?
Thank you, Jamie. Then there is another question which is quite hard and it's very connected to trauma bond. An anonymous lady asks, she says that she's in a relationship for the past 8 months and she was very happy in this relationship. But for the past 2 months, there's a lot of fights for no specific reasons. The person is not giving her time, not having a proper communication, giving her silent treatment, not answering calls and texts. It made her hard to breathe, sleep, and eat. But she does want the relationship back. What
Yes.
should she do? It's so hard for her to let him go.
Okay. Well, let me just tell you this. That person represents something else to you. None of us do not want somebody not to respond to our texts. None of us wants to be ghosted. But ghosting is a toxic behavior, just so you know. Let me just clearly call it out. If somebody wants to communicate with you that they're busy or that they're doing something and the other family member, other partner says, okay, we can talk later, that's a conversation. That's really it. That I'm an independent person. I'm telling you what's going on in the moment, and I'm respecting you, and I'm getting back to you. It might be one word, it might be 5 words, whatever. That's how relationships work. If you're being ghosted, that is a toxic behavior, number one. That's also communication that's going inside. Now, as much as I want, and I will take my own recovery, and I want to tell you, whoever asked that question, it ain't your fault. Okay. We all falling in love with somebody is natural. We all want to fall in love, but sometimes the love is a mirage. It's not what we call the oasis. It's the mirage of childhood trauma. It's the mirage that we have. Now, we may love, 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 but you may be with a person that transacts. They need to have somebody in their life. It's called supply. They need to have some adulation. They need to have sacrifices. Okay. You want to love, they want that. If somebody is showing you that they can't show up 50-50 with you, my first suggestion, and it's not going to be the thing that's going to be the total silver bullet, is that both of you need to get into couples counseling. And here's the thing. If this person is serious about making a relationship work with you, they'll join you in couples counseling. They'll join you there. They'll talk it out. Now, us therapists, we don't know for 4 or 5 sessions who's who. We don't know who's the toxic one, who's not, because we too have to develop a neurosafety, and we do. But if that person says to you, I'm not coming, then they're saying to you the relationship ain't worth it. So
Very true, Jamie. I must jump in that actually this happened to me. So when I asked for the couples therapy, my ex didn't join it and our relationship fell apart. So true.
I buy it. It ain't worth it. You're raising a child together, even if you didn't have a baby. What's that child? It's the vessel of energy in between you two. It's called a relationship that's sacred. If you can't raise that child and find and both get into couples counseling and go with an expert who can help you air it out, help you be fair, consistent, and available with your child, if they don't join you, forget it. And then when you get into therapy, and if they're not in therapy, you're going to be so much more self-aware later, you might as well leave the dinosaur behind. So this is the real test, the litmus test. I hate to say this. None of us wants to be ghosted. I was ghosted, okay? But that's what my first inclination was, that I went to the therapy question and the person didn't go, like Mila, mine didn't go either. So at what point in time do we have to realize that we're important, that we know who we are, and that we don't need that person? We need somebody to meet us halfway. Okay, Mila, next one.
Next question. We have a person who is unfortunately tolerating too long toxic relationships and going back and forth, and it just hurts so bad. So they're asking, what can they do about it? I can see a little bit of trauma bond there. So perhaps
this is what you can do
a little bit of that.
So this is what you can do about it. We have 200 people that showed up on Monday night on 2 separate meetings. Okay. Look, nobody cares your name. You can come on Zoom on TAR Network, actually Star Network or TAR Network, either one. Our name has changed, but Tar-Anon will not change. You can come into Tar-Anon free. It's accessible. We have one at 6 on Monday, at 7 on In the Rooms. We have one on Wednesday. This is Eastern Daylight Time, 6 on Wednesday. We're starting a new one on Friday at noon for Parental Alienation. Look, you're with a cool family there. You don't need to have your camera on. I don't care if you call yourself Joe or Mary, or it doesn't matter. Your neurosafety is first. But we're a family of choice, and all of us have been screwed in a toxic relationship, whether it's in the work site, whether it's with a partner. And all of us are trying to figure out, how do we start healing our lives together? Now, there's only 2 ways to do this. And everybody in that group, I'm a TAR mentor, like Mila is a TAR mentor. So we're like sponsors. There's only 2 ways. There is no mystery to therapy any longer. One is emotional regulation, taking care of yourself when you're dysregulated. It could be through Pilates or yoga. I'll do some breath work at the end if we have time. Meditation, it could be yoga. That's emotional. That's taking your stress and loving yourself. The second is co-regulation. So Gabor Mate, who hopefully Mila will put in, he's on our polyvagal board, said this, okay? it took us 8 years to become who we are. It takes 80 years to get out. It also said that we get screwed up in our first relationship, which is childhood, but we heal through healthy relationships later. Taranon is a family of choice. We're all trying to figure out why we fall into this world with toxic individuals and why we don't deserve better. And we work 12 steps, not the AA 12 steps. They're neurological. We do self-acceptance, self-compassion. We do breath work. So if you're in one of those relationships, y'all, join us at Taranon. It's free. There's no reason not to. And if you're like me, I get so much out of it. Just join us. Go to taranon.org. Okay.
We have another question. So, what if a partner is constantly playing the victim card and accuses the other of playing games, manipulation, and so on?
Happens all the
This
time.
behavior considered toxic?
Happens all the time. Here's a gig. I hate to say this to y'all. If you got that person, you probably know it. You know, if you're asking the question, and I hate to say this, I say to my clients, if it looks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. So at the end of the day, with a toxic individual, we have a saying in therapy: all perceptions are projections. Listen to that really quickly. All perceptions are projections. It's always going to be your fault. You're the one who's cheating. You're the one who screwed this relationship up. Why is that happening? Why? They cannot take accountability. And no doubt, they're the ones who are actually doing this. And so instead of them saying, I learned, or here, let me be intimate, let me be honest, let me be accountable, they'll project on you all this stuff. And if you accept that, okay, that's called gaslighting, and it's called word salad. That's called real bullshit. So you know what you see, okay? That's why I tell my daughter when I started raising, because I know the world's full of gaslighting. It's everywhere is gaslighting. I don't care if it's commercials or it's your next partner. And I say, sweetheart, learn to trust what you see and not what you hear. What you hear could be all the bullshit in the world, but what you see is what you know. And so it's tough, y'all. You can't change the person. I got 33 years of clinical training, and if I couldn't, I don't think you can. But come to Taranon and you can start looking inside and talking to other people as well. Mila, what's the
We
next?
have the next question. So, a quite hard one. A person asks, how to survive after sexual abuse and still wanting the attention from that person, because literally they're saying that this is love.
It's true. It's a very good question, but very, very, very good question. We get rewired. Trauma rewires us. So Gabor Mate said it best. Okay, trauma is not what happens to you. It's what happens within you as a result of what happened to you. So hear me out. That's a very good question. So at a young age, for instance, and I'll say a victim, I work with sexual offenders a lot. So I'll say, God forbid, I mean, I deal with sexual abuse often. The person actually, it's inevitable. Almost, it's impossible not to feel some sense of pleasure, because our neurological system will, the endorphins and the dopamine will start flooding even in the worst, most absolute heinous abusive situations. So we get neurologically rewired, and somehow or another, that's when I talk to people about, exotic dancers. They all say, oh, you want to go to a place like that? And I go, no, not really. I said, they're reenacting their trauma and their drama. I said, most of them were sexually abused, and they're out here thinking they can connect with me or make a living, obviously, by connecting with me on a sexual level. It's natural. Just so you know, whoever asked that question, do not think you're different than anybody else. It's beautiful to know that you are okay. You are. So that is called the reparenting. When we neurologically, and we can change the chemistry of our body, and we can change our brains after being traumatized. It's called neuroplasticity. We can get into trauma work, complex PTSD work, and we can do EMDR, and we can do internal family systems. Then we can retool our neurological system. So my heart breaks that you had to go through that pain. My heart breaks that somebody of authority crossed the line. It's only natural that then we as a victim feel guilty for some odd reason, that it's not the other person's fault. A lot of that is chemistry. A lot of that's that. But let me tell you that the trauma model today, the beauty of psychology today, is that when we reparent ourselves and we can get that purpose training way back then, retrained, and to love ourselves and be fair, consistent, and available. It takes a while. And you have to do this with people like us at Taranon for free. I'm not saying, and you have to do this with a good DBT licensed therapist. You have to do that. But you got to do the work. It's like Nike says, you got to just do it. You got to be your own personal coach. But here's hope. That will not have to be the case later on when you lean in. I will say, go to Taranon, see the steps and see the promises. Those promises are working actually in my life 7.5 years later. And I bet you if you start doing it, even if you were very highly abused as a child, you start working those steps, you're going to also see those promises materialize.
So we have a lot of questions more, Jamie. So let's answer all of those. So there is another question. How can you immediately recognize someone with a relationship disorder who is otherwise wonderful, and after that kind of a betrayal, where the trust disappears, how can you really trust again? Should you trust again?
It's tough. Trusting again is tough. Then it requires us to start trusting ourselves. It's that when I said the picker was broken, it is the reparenting process. People look at me and they said the first 5 years after I left the relationship, they said that you haven't met anybody, got in a relationship again. I said, nah. They said, aren't you lonely? I said, I felt more alone in that toxic relationship than I do today. So understand this. There's two ways. You're talking to me about a covert narcissist or a covert borderline, or you're talking about covert. They're good. And there's two ways to really figure this out. One is obviously if they lead with that vulnerable, tragic childhood. Okay. And by the way, whoever asked that dating question, do not bite the bait. Don't go into the tar pit. Don't start telling them about your crappy childhood too. Okay. Don't give them the vulnerable stuff that they'll use with you later. Keep your boundaries. People don't puke out their lives. I call them emotional bulimics. They go slow. They go slow and they let it out. Do not join in that emotional bulimia, that vomit fest when they come out. Okay. But here's how you tell. You'll know from their past relationships. You'll know when they start putting other people down who they were with. You'll know, obviously, past history is always an indicator of future behavior. Obviously, it's tough to reconnect. And I would say the same thing my therapist says to me, to you. It's going to come to you. Everything comes to you at the right time if you're taking care of yourself. And you'll be in a great relationship. You will. But it's going to come to you while you're in a relationship with yourself. Mila? Mila, you're on mute there.
Yes.
There you
Jamie, is it possible to have a good relationship with someone who is actually toxic, or actually to have a relationship with the toxic person?
Oh, this is a quick question. No.
No. Good.
Okay. I'm just going to tell you all Santa Claus ain't coming and the Easter Bunny's not there. And when I was an addiction counselor, I would work with kids and I go to them, I said, Daddy's not going to come home sober tonight. What are you going to do about it? So if you think that there's a good way, no, there is a good way if you want. It's up to you. And I don't want to put my head on your shoulder, but there's a lot of doormatting you have to do. There's a lot of subjugating. There's a lot of getting on your knees. There's a lot of discounting. And do you not want to thrive in life? Because that person will never change. They cannot. It's a neurological default that happens between 4 and 7 years old. So I'll leave it to you. I never want to put my head on your shoulders. I really value your independence. But if you're expecting the person to change, no. And if you're comfortable with emotional discounting and abuse and somebody not really having your back, it's up to you.
Jamie, how do you forgive yourself for staying way too long in a toxic marriage, and you twisted yourself into kind of trying to make it so
Here's a
much
pretzel.
work? It's so much,
Wait, I got a pretzel right here. I had to
how
do
do you
this
forgive
too.
yourself?
Yeah. We twist ourselves like this. We have to forgive ourselves. Guess why? We didn't raise ourselves either. Okay. My parents, God love them, they raised me. I came out later as the fawning hero. Okay. Because I had to keep making them happy. They really didn't know what a healthy thing was because all we're doing is recreating the trauma from before. So we become the pretzel. We twist ourselves up. Now, how we get untwisted is really the relationship we have with ourselves, our trauma therapist, coming to Taranon, doing the things, paying it forward in charity work, loving yourself enough to never allowing yourself to be discounted. So listen, they're everywhere. I do know this. I do it for a living. They're next to us. They're all around. It's 1 out of 8. We do have to be very boundaried. Go to Brene Brown. We have to understand what we'll accept and not accept, but you will find that person. You'll sift through it. Don't go for the low-hanging fruit. First has to be the relationship with yourself. And we can help you through Tara. We'll give you great resources every time so that you can put your plan together.
Jamie, a person is asking, at the age of 65, divorced for 24 years, because all of the relationship have been abusive in some ways. They fear they may not find love again. Is there hope for them at this age?
Absolutely. My boss asked me that too. We deal with 1.5 million boomers and seniors. He said, Jamie, are you kidding? Complex trauma? What are they going to do? I said, George, I love you, man. I said, but look, we can rebirth ourselves at any age. I'm older than that person you're talking about, right? So years back, when I started this process, it became to me a joy. I mean, if I should croak tomorrow, and I don't know what my life expectancy is, I've actually gotten on the path. The road to recovery for complex trauma is called authenticity. It's not sitting on a mountain in Nepal and having a spiritual awakening. And I have 60-year-olds, 65-year-olds, 70-year-olds coming into our senior centers doing powerful neuroregulation and neuroplasticity things, taking care of themselves, laying out boundaries, and it's coming to us and saying, Eureka, I've never done this for 70 years. My gosh, they're adopting themselves for the first time. The beauty of the trauma model is I don't have to take you back to 10 years old and find out what happened with your mom and dad. If you feel safe in the moment neurologically, there's no reason to go anywhere. You'll be here now. So that's all I do is work with 1.5 million seniors. And I think it's working pretty good, complex trauma recovery for them.
Another question. Somebody has been living with someone for 9 years who is extremely verbally and emotionally abusive. He keeps moving out and coming back, and they can't keep doing this. They're talking about moving this person out, but they feel they have to stop this for good. They get scared and panic and ask this person to stay every time. How do they end the relationship and get out?
Okay.
They hurt so bad every time they try.
First of all, start putting in if you'd be so kind, Mila, as my co-founder there, I love you. Go put in the gray rock technique in the chat room, number one. So
actually, that's another question. So you're going to expand on that.
Here's how you do it. I would rather you do gray rocking with family members and if you have a child with one. And that's learning how to be the most uninteresting piece of gravel in the driveway. It's being monosyllabic. It's being just answering the question in a compassionate way, but not going deeper. The gray rock means you're not going to buy into the reaction. They live in the reaction. They live in the tar pit. Realize you can't fight the pig, okay? What happens is you fight the pig always will win and you'll get muddy. So what you have to do is start taking care of yourself. So to that person directly who just asked that question, number one, I get a healthy family of support around you. I'd find sponsors or TARM mentors. I'd find people at your church or synagogue or ashram, friends that meet you halfway. This is a very isolating event to be with a toxic individual. They cut you off from everywhere. That's why they're called energy vampires. You have to start developing a healthy group that cares about you. Small, one step at a time. That's number one. Number two, get yourself a therapist. So you always have to have this check off, and they're going to go back to your childhood and say that this is fitting you like a glove. Unfortunately, they're going to help you. Then you can change the locks. Then I don't want you to go to court necessarily. That's another hour. We're going to do a webinar about courts because I'm an expert witness. Courts are not really helpful as much as you think. But I do want you, if the person is a psychopath and stalks you, I want you to get a restraining order. But you really have to have somebody alongside of you that cares about you. Now, they're going to try to use flying monkeys and divide them from you. But so you may have to find a whole new group. But that 9 years you've been with somebody, I don't know how old you are, but you've got many years ahead to thrive. The gray rocking is good for modified contact, if you will, with family members, even though I don't think you should take, any abuse from them either. It's also okay if you have to hand off a child. I'd rather have you have no contact, get rid of their social media accounts, get rid of their Facebook accounts. Don't even give a crap what they're doing. Why? Because the greatest revenge is you to heal yourself, get on 2 feet, because they want you on one. They don't want you on two. So what's the next question?
another person is in a very also abusive situation, uncomfortable doing the things that their boyfriend is asking them to do, and the person, the boyfriend, is accusing them being very jealous. So
Mhm.
they are stuck in this limbo phase. They don't know what to do, how to end the relationship, what how to approach this situation. What would
This
you
is what
advise?
this is a great question again, and it all keeps going back to you got to do the work, right? It's like what Richard
Yeah.
Grannon. By the way, go to YouTube and see our colleague Richard Grannon. He and I are going to do a podcast together. He's very good. He's an old martial arts guy. He's very honest on his YouTube things. We like him a lot. But he's also a black belt. He says, "Look, you're going to have to do the work." I know our self-esteem gets beaten down. There's only two ways to come out of a toxic parenting situation. And that's becoming the toxic individual yourself or becoming the doormat. None of us want either of those, right? So understand that we have to put in place three things: the licensed trauma therapist. That's one is DBT or IFS, internal family systems. Okay. We have to have that. That's once a week or as much as you can afford or insurance pays for. The other is what we at our foundation, the Star Network, offers, Tarn. You must keep coming back. I don't care if it says parental alienation Tar-Anon, if it says family Tar-Anon, if it says, you got to keep coming back. There's not enough meetings to do this, but we're there to be your family of choice, to get your strength. We're your liquid strength for the moment. Okay. So you'll find that courage and that self-love, and you're going to find people along the way. Then at the end of the day, you just have to have somebody almost like a coach keep you engaged. You got to write the treatment plan. Listen, it's so much easier to shove that heroin in your arm and disassociate. And that's what that person is. The trauma bond is an addiction like cocaine or heroin or opiates. Okay. If you're in AA, we disassociate, or NA, keep in it. That's an emotional regulator and co-regulator. Just add Tar-Anon to it. You cannot get enough free support groups. Okay. Anyway, that's it.
So two more questions. First question is very general, and I think it will be amazing if you address it a little bit more. People are asking more about these disorders and the indicators that might help them understand who is that toxic person. If you could expand on that more, Jamie, Dr. Jamie, please.
Sure will. It's not an issue. It's easy enough to see. What we call TAR, we decided not to call it psychopathological, borderline histrionic, antisocial. It's crazy. Why? Why should we? Abuse is abuse is abuse. So you know the person, whether it's your mom, your dad, your husband, your wife, your partner, you know them pretty well. Like I said, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. You know the history of empathy, of them listening to you. You know the history of, do they take learned lessons and they come back to you and say, thank you. Thank you. When Mila tells me that, I'm talking too much or you're not doing this right, I thank her. It may be a trigger for her to go deeper with her therapist, but it's something I'm doing in the moment that I need to be called out on and to do that. You'll know a person who can accept that and not accept it. You also know a person who lifts you up instead of keeping you down. So all these things, these are red flags. Also, the red flag is an oscillation between victim and martyr. If they can't just get into the gray area, understand this: a toxic person could only live in black or white. When I ran a psych hospital, I would come in and find my clinicians fighting each other, one after the other, and at a staffing. And I would look around and say, okay, where's the cluster B? Where's the axis 2? Why? Because they split. They get good. They only know good mom and bad mom. They don't have the gray. Listen, I'll take the P. Diddy story. I know Emil wants me to do videos, and so I'm starting to do videos on P. Diddy. Okay. Guess what? Life is in the gray area. But what keeps us out of that 3,000 people who have a class action suit with Diddy, or keeps us out of that freak fest, or keeps us out of that being sexually dominated by a narcissist, is values. Values are the crucifix and garlic to the energy vampire. When we're in a toxic relationship, I will clearly say it, and I'll say it because about myself. I lost my values. My values are my boundaries. My values are how much I would put up with something. Your red flags that you're asking to see, if you have to do this, if you have to acquiesce, if you have to give up those values, you've got it. There is a piece of you that maybe wants to have another story. You're going to, with your therapist, you have to detach yourself from the story. It's not the story. It's who we are authentically, you know?
So, Jamie, actually, two more questions. I'm very sorry. First question is, can the person who stood by your side during your healing when you needed them the most could have changed and become toxic one?
You know, it's a fascinating question because, I wrote a book on caregiving, and I always say relationships are 50-50, but sometimes they are 80-20. Okay, if you have a
Hmm.
chronic or terminal acute illness and somebody's caregiving, it's 80-20. But would it be 80-20 the other way as well, right? So it's a 50-50. It's sort of thing like that. Does a person automatically become that way? No. I will say that no. If there was empathy before, if there was the ability to create learned lessons before, there will be an ability later. Now, have you found not much to relate over? This is what marriage counseling and couples counseling and being with a good therapist is all about. It's one of those things that, not to answer your question directly, it's great that you acknowledge a good caregiver, okay? But sometimes too, I'm not, please, I'm not putting ideas in your head. Caregiving can be an image too. I have therapists that are narcissists and they became therapists and didn't look at themselves. You go to churches, synagogues, ashrams, spiritual narcissism. People hide behind the priest or the rabbi or the imam. Okay, all of this is that I know a doctor who I work with right now, whose patients think that she's from Lourdes, that literally she's Mother Teresa, but she comes out of that office and is a raging roller coaster lunatic of anger. And so be careful. The image is there to keep you away. Now, I will say this, when you start getting well, start taking care of yourself, you do get under the image. You no longer are that supply. You may see that mask drop and that person come out. Maybe you've given them a free ride for a long period of time. So this is something to explore with a good trauma therapist that does couples counseling. And I would really suggest you do that. And go to, I'm going to say it again, psychologytoday.com, put your zip code in, I don't care where you are, and out will pop 10 therapists. Only go to the couples counselor that has a trauma certification.
So, Dr. Jamie, the last question before we wrap this up, and then in next 2 weeks we again do this amazing webinar. Ask Dr. Jamie. Somebody asked to explain a little bit more about Tarnan and what it is.
Oh my God. So Tarnan is a labor of love for Mila, myself, and our entire team. We created the TAR network, which is now the STAR network. Tarnan brought us and the Complex PTSD Foundation together because this is what narcissistic abuse does. It triggers your childhood trauma. So we came together. We used to have at the TAR network, I don't even know if I could see it here. Let me see. Yes, it's still there. So the bottom right, as you can see, the bottom, the TNN is our broken heart logo. Okay. What we did was stitch the logo with gold lace, which is a Japanese sort of symbol for healing, came together with the CPTSD Foundation, and Tarnan now is happening all around the world. Obviously, Mila just came from Oslo, Norway, at the Parental Alienation Summit. So we're starting one at 12 noon on Friday. I deal with parents all the time. It's about toxic abusive relationship anonymous. Okay, it's a place where you can find healing. When I was in mine years ago, remember I said to you, I've been in codependency recovery for 30 years. Don't forget the trauma model wasn't back there. I can flat out tell you that when I went in to talk about toxic relationship, nobody wanted to listen to me. I mean, when they did, it was a shit show. All I can send you to is the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Everybody thought the next day, him without a thumb, her going to the bathroom in the bed, the screaming here, the isolation there. So we created, Mila, myself, and our team, a safe place that people could come to and tell these stories, but really focus on their own recovery and to learn, not to read, because you can't read your way in recovery. So as I do breath work, this is a very good slide for you, that the longest journey you ever make is from your head to your heart. And so you have to do the work and lean in. And Tarnan, it's all emotional regulation work. It's all co-regulation with family members. It's all polyvagal techniques. Look, it's yoga, it's Pilates, it's that. But come by and check it out. It's like chicken soup; it can't hurt. And guess what? It doesn't cost a penny. So
Jamie, I think there was one more question. I
sure.
think for just it was hard to find because there's a lot of chat going on. So
Good, good. And
is
that's great. By the way, the
is
chat.
codependency actually somehow connected to anxiety? Can you explain
Yes.
more about
Oh, that's
codependency,
great. That's a
please?
great question. And I like you all chatting too, by the way. This is what co-regulation is. I want you guys connected. I want you guys to have each other's backs. When I do teamwork at my company, if somebody cries or loses somebody, I want somebody to hold them and hug them. I want them to have their text. This is their new family. So that's a great question. You're asking a guy who's in recovery for codependency. There's great anxiety if you're an active codependent. Okay. Codependency is again looking to people, places, and things as our own self-esteem increaser. Going inside, here's a toolbox of grounding techniques. Okay. The ways that we can have self-help to manage our symptoms from within allows us to focus on the here and now. So if we're feeling stress, we have a focus on our own authenticity. Look, isn't it easier to keep track of your truths than your lies? I'm much happier in the moment because I don't lie anymore. I don't people please. I don't become the pretzel. I say what I need to say. If the person has a hard time with it, let them call their therapist. Codependency is just as transactional as narcissism. I hate to say this, y'all, and then I'm calling myself out. So when I get two of them in therapy, I do find out which one is empathy and accountability, and I'll start realizing one I can work with and one I cannot. But if you're transacting all the time or you're shape shifting all the time, you can't be your authentic self in the moment, okay, and know who you are and nothing else matters. There'll be an anxiety. Anxiety become what the person wants you to become to your right. Anxiety become what your boss wants on the left. Anxiety become like your mom wants there. There's no anxiety if you're in the moment, you are who you are, and you have radical acceptance with actually no judgment. That's how the anxiety goes away. So come back. We do have a plan. Grounding exercises are a lot of them. I'll teach you breath work, but what the plan is that when your body needs to start talking to you as opposed to your mind. Your mind can do anything. I'm a hypnotherapist, so I can actually do an induction, take you down to that tragic place that you had an issue we call an abreaction, bring you back with my voice. I can actually get your mind to do a lot. You can project, you can deflect, you could deny. But when I got in recovery, in Tar-Anon is, I wish it was there when I was there, but now it's here right when I need it the most. When I got in recovery, guess what? I let my body tell me now. You keep asking for red flags for dates, your body's going to tell you. Don't let your mind tell you. Your intuition's going to tell you. Read the book, and I'm sure Mila will put it on, please. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, who I'm very privileged to be on the advisory board with. He wrote, which is 20 years on the bestseller list, he's from Harvard, The Body Keeps the Score. The body keeps the score. So if you can't be authentic, okay, if you're in that despair or hopeless place, guess what? You can choose to become regulated. This is what really holding and hugging ourselves in complex PTSD is. It's becoming self-aware. If you're in a relationship with a toxic individual, why I use breath work, y'all, is that breath work can change your body's chemistry. Remember that person who asked me about their body's chemistry at a young age and being abused? You can change your body chemistry in less than 80 seconds. I do this for cops and firemen, emergency medical technicians. Why? When they run into a SWAT situation, they're reactive as hell. Either they're going to shoot somebody or get shot. When I have them do breath work, it reduces their anxiety, gets them more proactive. It allows them to make the right decision. Because the key to recovery from a toxic relationship is to befriend your neurological system. Okay, it's your vagus nerve. It's the longest nerve in your body. It's called the vagabond nerve. It goes from the cortex of your brain into your healing organs, your gut. In a toxic relationship, we don't befriend ourselves. We shapeshift ourselves. We get subordinate to ourselves. We don't calm our nervous system down. Your body will tell you. That's why we do breath work or anything like Pilates or yoga. It grounds you on 2 feet, shifts your body chemistry, and returns control back to you. But you got to keep doing it because it changes your brain. Okay, Mila, before I go on to the breath work, is there anyone that ends?
There, There are still questions, Jamie, and I think we're gonna need to have weekly webinars.
Well, you can. And
Uh,
also, let me give you a few great places to go for some of these questions. So go to Richard Grannon. He's fabulous on YouTube, whether you're a man or a woman. He's got great programming. Go to Dr. Nadine. Oh, she's wonderful. She is Dr. Nay. She was our keynote speaker at Scars to Stars. She's got a great book out. I'm going to show it to you right now. So does Richard, A Cult of One. This is Dr. Nadine's book. It's called Run Like Hell. What a great title, isn't it? I thought I wrote a good title with Take Your Oxygen First. This is the best one. Go back to YouTube. There's very vulnerable people keeping people aware. There's a great psychologist there too, Dr. Ramani.
yeah.
She's there too. She'll answer every question. What we're doing here at the Star Network, obviously, is offering you support for free because I never got it. Mila didn't get it. We're now realizing the world never got it. But we're only opening up the window of healing for you. So there's another good book if you really want to open the window of healing and do the workbooks. Like if you read Pete Walker's book, do the workbook. If you read Richard Grannon's stuff, do his workbook. If you read Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements, okay, is perfect in a toxic relationship. Why? Be impeccable with your word. Man, we keep telling ourselves darkness, which is our childhood crap, negative things, okay? Be impeccable with the words you say to yourself. Don't take things personal. Hey, you didn't raise that person, right? You didn't do that. They're the ones who are out of control, but not because of you, because of their childhood. Okay, don't assume. Means you have to ask questions. I hear a lot of assumptions in these questions. I assume this person's not. I assume this person's not. Ask every question you want till you find out they have empathy, accountability, and they're not transactional. And the fourth is do your best. Don't be a perfectionist. So I'm only opening up windows to you, to Miguel Ruiz, to Dr. Nadine, who's fabulous, Dr. Macaluso, to Richard Grannon, who's great and wrote the Cult of One, to, hey, Sandra Brown. She has a fabulous program as well. The Living Recovery program. You can get that at our website. She'll stay with you every week and she'll do calls. We're just opening the window now of awareness. You can choose how you want to transform. I will say this. I don't think there's a better way than Tar-Anon. I think because we're a place that you can come to that doesn't cost you anything,
Exactly.
and you're going to
Uh,
learn how to neuroregulate.
exactly. And I think, Jamie, we should remind everybody that today, tonight, we have a Tarnan meeting. So for those who have not attended yet, you're all welcome to join. And you can ask also questions and share your relationship stories, your fears, your anxieties with Dr. Jamie and with other people who are going through the same experiences. Just tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Daylight Time. So Miami time, please just go to the tarnan.org. I wrote it multiple times directly to people and in the chat. It's a weekly meetings. We have them on Monday and Wednesday, and we're starting parental alienation support groups as well. You can always contact us at the contact@tarnetwork.org. You can always reach out to us via Instagram, we're email. We're going to answer questions. We're going to send recommendations. But please, if you do have time, join us this Wednesday. If you don't have time, join us next week. Let's stay in touch. And thank you very much for joining.
Yeah.
Thank
Now
you.
I'm going to do the breath work, y'all, because here's why. We've heard a lot of stories. We've asked a lot of questions. We have really stirred the stew of our neurological system here. Okay. Maybe we got awareness. That's fabulous. Transformation comes by doing the work. Okay. Breath work. If you don't want to do the breath work, you can pray. I'm not saying it's Jesus, Moses, Buddha, or Allah. Prayer is a neuroregulator. Okay. Yoga, Pilates. You can go to a safe place you once were for 80 seconds. This breath work takes 80 seconds to reset your body. Okay. Like a cop. If you're in a toxic relationship, you're running into a burning home like my cops are and running out. Breath work is in your back pocket. I use it because it's your best trauma therapist. By the way, you're not going to hear me talk so much. I'll kick off these Tar-Anon meetings, or other TAR mentors will. But this TAR meeting, our Tar-Anon meetings is your meeting, not mine. Why we want to set this up was people are asking questions whether they belong there or not. So Mila and I said, well, let's just have, hey, ask the doctor healthy or not healthy. Go get a good therapist, go here. Tar-Anon is your meeting. We're going to open up the floor to you. I'll give you a quick psychoeducation piece, and I'll take speaker to speaker, and then we'll end it with this breath work to calm your system down. But it's your meeting, not mine. So breath work was brought to us by a lot of people, but I use Dr. Andy Weil. Again, I'm going to give you another resource. Go to YouTube, put 478 and put WEIL. Andy is a phenomenal integrative medicine doctor from the University of Arizona. He's got wonderful nutritional advice, but he's also in psychoactive meds. He's like tops. He's from Harvard, but he brought 478 to my healthcare world and measured the results in terms of brain scans and specs. And if you do it now, which I'm going to do now with you, or I'll give you the alternative, it'll calm you, because I think we've just stirred up a lot. And I hope it's good things, because it's awareness. This is the beginning of transformation. This takes you from a victim. Now you are a survivor, a star. Don't hang up though, because you can just stay silent for 80 seconds. You do need to calm your nervous system. You may want to pray. You may want to go to a safe place and touch it, feel it, and smell it. But for those who want to learn how to breathe, it's real easy. Andy will tell you, put the tongue at the roof of your mouth, which is fine. I work with 35,000 employees, and you really don't have to. But here's how you do 478. When I ask you to close your eyes, I'm going to ask you to breathe in through your nostrils for 4 seconds, like this. Because you feel alive. You're in the moment. You feel refreshed. You'll keep the breath in your mind for up to 7 seconds. If you want to picture roses, daffodils, rainbows, guided image, you can. Or just stay silent for up to 7 seconds. But when we befriend our nervous system, it's the exhalation that's the secret sauce. So you exhale twice as long and twice as hard as your inhalation. So you exhale like this for 8 seconds. Andy does a phenomenal job at 478. I'm going to take you through it right now, and then I'm going to give your time back to you. And I hope we see you there at Tarnock, or I hope you go call your therapist or best friend and nurture somebody to meet you halfway. So let's all close our eyes. Okay, let's put our feet on the ground. If you have shoes on, feel the floor through your shoes. If you're barefoot at home, feel the floor through your feet. And with your back upright, with respect for your body here, let's just simply do 478 only 4 times to befriend our nervous system after all that's transpired this hour. Okay, now breathe in through your nostrils for 4 seconds. Keep it. Swish it around for up to 7 seconds. Blow out all the stress you're feeling for 8. Breathe in the calmness for 4. Keep it. Swish it for 7. Now, blow out with gusto for 8. Breathe in the calmness for 4. Keep it. Swish it for 7. Now, blow out with passion for 8. Last time. Breathe in the calmness for 4. Keep it. Swish it for 7. Now, just blow out all the anxiety you're feeling in the moment for 8. With your eyes still closed, please, feet on the ground, go inside your body and scan it. Okay? Your vagus nerve touches all your healing organs. You just calmed your entire nervous system down. What you've also done is calm the inflammation that was here before you got to this meeting. You also arrested, to some extent, the cortisol that was going through your body. You literally have produced, in that moment, oxytocin, which is a happy hormone, we call it in positive psychology, which connects to your neurotransmitters. So to that question about can we retool and change our chemistry, you can. This was done in the moment. I do this 6 to 8 times a day to be more proactive. Okay, you can do any emotional regulator 6 to 8 times. Just put it in your calendars, in your Outlook. Hang around healthy people that meet you halfway, and you've got the key to neurological and trauma recovery. Now, open your eyes, come back to this meeting, realize that what you've done is an act of self-compassion. A moment of self-compassion changes your whole day, and a string of moments can change the course of your life. you want to pursue Dr. Germer's work, he's great. So is Dr. Neff. She's there at the University of Austin. They're fabulous. They have the Mindful Self-Compassion Unit. But I just want to say to you, from the Star Network, from my dear co-founder, Mila, from all of us who are trying to bring peace on this earth and hopefully break this family trauma before the family trauma breaks you, is that you need to be the change you seek in this world. Take your oxygen first and know that better things are coming. They really are. So keep calm and just breathe. Get our Instagram out, get our Facebook out, bring the world into this movement. And Mila, I'll let you take us out.
Thank you, Dr. Jamie. It was an amazing first webinar we've had, and I've seen so many people thanking us for this meeting and wanting to ask more and more questions. So I think we were going to need to have more of these, ask Dr. Jamie, maybe different time, maybe a little bit later, maybe not noon, because perhaps
or call your own trauma therapist and ask your trauma therapist the same question too.
Of course, but you know, Dr. Jamie always has the straight answers, right? So, I would like to thank everybody, and please do visit us on our website. Unfortunately, the redirect is not working right now, so you can find us on www.tarnetwork.org, not Star Network yet. It's down for this time being for 24 hours. But you can go to Tar Network, you can find resources, you can go to women's section. We're going to be opening more sections up. You can go to our Instagram. Please, tonight is a meeting. If you want, join our meetings, and you know, keep emailing us, you know, keep paying it forward. We are a charity, a 501c3, a foundation. We're doing this for you because we've all gone through this hell of toxic abusive relationship. We've been drinking this vampire blood. And what is, Jamie, what kills the vampire? Is it the value, perhaps?
So listen, y'all, at the end of the day, and I just came back from rock and roll, as you can see, is my emotional regulator, right? You can see this. I love rock. I love being with groups. So I just flew back from Las Vegas during the hurricane. I went to emotionally regulate my neurosystem. So I went and saw Smashing Pumpkins. And when Billy Corgan came out singing Butterflies and Bullets, the first words he says is, "The world is a vampire." Okay? And the world is a vampire. And if you're with a toxic person, the vampire needs all the energy that you've got. And in a cognitively fogged psychological war with a toxic person, all the energy leaves you and it goes to them. So get your boundaries, get your good licensed trauma therapist, come to Tar-Anon, be kind to yourselves, and don't let vampires suck your blood. Have a great day. Be kind to yourself. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.